Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to PSGL here for F6 in the PlayStation tier for round number 10 at the Mexican Grand Prix, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, a 4.3 kilometer circuit in length. A lot of very tricky corners, especially in that middle sector where it's so easy to lose the car. But before we get into all that, my name is Harry Mike, going to be taking you through the action, and joined alongside me in the commentary box is Quinn. Quinn, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Of course, we are here in Mexico, and you might notice something if you scroll through the two cars on track. There's multiplayer cars because EA are incompetent and they can't fix their game for shit.
Yes, unfortunately, the latest update today has kind of messed around with the equal car performance. So in order to get through that, we've had to transition over to the multiplayer cars, which obviously will make things a little bit tricky in terms of figuring out teammates and everything, because of course usually you share a garage with your teammates. Today you might not be sharing a garage, so I mean we could have Aguado and King in the same pit box together, and one could get absolutely done over by the other. So it's going to be important for these guys to make sure that they can get around and figure out who their teammate is ASAP, because that's going to be first and foremost the most important thing. Obviously 16 drivers in. We were meant to have 17, unfortunately, as the man in the chat right now, Owen Moore, unfortunate for him, he wasn't able to get the update done in time, so he has to miss out here today. But on board with ETA, Chris will be the first man to, actually no, Janel is going to be the first man to get us on the lap. So we'll stay on board with Janel as he's got DRS wide open, running down in towards turn number 1. Looking at the break in here on the left hand side around about the 75-meter point, and obviously breaking down, going through the first 3 corners. Very easy, just take a little bit too much curb and of course lose the back end. But second DRS zone running down in towards turn number 4, first sector split of a 28.7 as we go through turn 4 and 5 now, and obviously using all the track possible as you approach turn 6, the double right-hander. Now into the meaty part of the middle sector, into the S's, where you need to get your line absolutely spot on. These curbs can be unforgiving and they can just chew you up and spit you back out. As we go through the SS, DRS will be wide open once again on the rundown in towards turn 12, middle sector split of, I wasn't able to see that, unfortunately. The PlayStation notification came up in the top right, so I couldn't see the middle sector split. But coming through the final sector now, in through the stadium and around the final corner, turn 17, across the line will come Janel, and it's going to be a 16.2 to get underway here.
Yeah, it's a very solid lap there from Janel, and I'm just going to board with Chris now as he's going to be coming up to the last corner now. Not going to be as quick, you'd think. Ooh. Oh, it is. Jesus. Nearly 4 attempts quicker, and I think it was going to be, Burrell crosses the line, just under 2 attempts. It was going to be Lifebout, but he has invalidated. I think it might be going, don't know why he just didn't go into the pits there, because it's only got 0.7 laps of fuel left.
Probably just making sure he gets a delta on the board to work with later in the session, as Miguel across the line goes into the second place. Of course, the one thing that we do get to see now, obviously with us having to use the multiplayer cars, the one thing that we do get to see is some of these drivers' creativities and how they set up their liveries. As Aguado there goes on provisional pole with a 15.7. Of course, Aguado was not here last week, and because of that, he has lost the championship lead. And of course, let's go ahead and let's take you through the driver standings. Of course, King has taken the championship lead now, currently on 65 points, 11 points clear of Aguado in second place. Aiden is up into third in the championship. He's on 49 points, with Tactician on 46.5 points in fourth place. Then of course we got Fleddy on 45.5 points. Of course, Fleddy also not here, as Alex Marciano there goes on provisional pole with a 15.6. A big lap there from Alex. Yeah, Fleddy on 45.5 points, also not here tonight. We do have Alex Marciano on 40 points in 6th place. Miguel on 39 points in 7th. Owen also not here tonight on 37 points. He's in 8th place in the championship. And of course, we got Daniel on 37 points as well in 8th place as well. So he's tied on points with Owen. So as long as he can finish inside the top 10, he should be making his way up the order as King goes up just 1/100th of a second ahead of Aguado. That's how close it is between these two guys at the moment.
Yeah, it's extremely close. I'm just on board with Daniel at the moment. He doesn't have the fuel at the moment. He's got 0.2. So I think he may be coming into the pits. Yeah, he does. I think he did the same as Lifeboat on the previous lap where he invalidated, but still got Aldo who's on a lap just going round this very tricky S section here. Of course, you can take this part flat, which he does very neat and tidy through there. And it's 56.7 for the Sector 2 split coming into the stadium section through this tricky hairpin-like corner. And all over the curb, you've got to make use of all the track, like you're saying before, hug the inside line, and it will be P6 for Aldo with a 15.9.
Yeah, absolutely. And Aiden unfortunately has left the session, so maybe a bit of a connection issue there for Aiden. Of course, he is P3 in the Drivers' Championship, and of course, he's down in 13th at the moment, so definitely has a lot to do. He's the slowest runner so far that has managed to set a lap time on the board. We got Omi in the chat saying hello to myself and hello to Quinn as well. So how are you doing, Omi?
We got Yanil just on an outlap at the moment. He is running the Red Bull Miami livery. Of course, there's no restrictions on what multiplayer livery you can run, so completely valid that you can run this or maybe the Alfa Romeo. But well, both of the Alfa Romeo special liveries.
Yeah,
I do like this. Oh,
Alex with a 5-place grid penalty, and I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing a restart lobby for that, because they do hand out penalties like I can't like, some of the penalties are very questionable, but others are deserved. So I think it's one of those ones where if it's an undeserved one, I think we would probably get a restart lobby for the race itself, obviously keeping the qualifying times. But if it is a deserved 5-place good drop, I think we'll just carry on with it.
Yeah, it did say illegal blocking, and it looked like it was slowing down to let people past at the end of the pit exit. And yeah, it just gave him a 5-place grid drop for legal blocking.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Yanel now has just started his second flying lap, coming in towards turn 1 now as we fly through the first sector.
Oh.
As you mentioned, with the Miami livery for the Red Bull racing car, but unfortunately, it's an invalidated lap for Yanel. But we got Al Pacino in behind. He is coming through turn 3 now. DRS wide open as he heads down into the first sector split. He's currently 9th in the standings right now as he's marginally up in sector 1. 0.02 of a second improvement.
No.
But that is wide, but he somehow has managed to get away with it.
Yeah, I'm very much surprised that he did not invalidate there. Of course, you can get on that AstroTurf on the exit, well, on the outside of that curb. And yeah, very neat and tidy through the S's section. Let's see where his second sector split. He's still 400ths up on his time. Got a little bit of traffic, but they move out of the way for him. Got over both curbs and just touching that curb on the outside is an invalidation, and he goes straight into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. Campara also on a invalidated run. Honestly, it's difficult to kind of figure out who's in what car, but yeah, I'm trying to scroll through and try and jump on board with someone who's towards the end of the lap, but it is what it is. Aguado peels off into the pit lane. He was marginally up in the middle sector, so I'm guessing he's made a mistake in the final sector, which has caused him to fall down the order. Daniel has improved and gone up into P2. Kings into the pit lane as well. So both.
He's taken a bollard with him as well, going into the pits.
I'll tell you who's performing well here so far, and we don't usually see him this high up. Chris.
Yeah, he's similar to Tactician, I'd say. Both of them are usually not great qualifiers, but he's definitely showing it tonight in his hot pink livery. He's doing great to catch our attention with that livery, I'd say.
Yeah, and honestly, we do like the hot pink car there for ETA Chris, and it definitely seems like... remember a few years ago, back when you had the the racing point and it was a lovely pink car. I think that car would suit Chris absolutely down to a T. Oh, as Aldo's gone around in the S's. Who's on board with that, just taking a little bit too much curb, and around goes Aldo in the middle sector, and he can't get it going the right way again as he lights up the rear tyres and goes around a second time. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunate. Janel did improve on his... I believe he went for another run and he did improve, and he's done a 15.9 now, unless he just did that lap just to see what he could do. Of course, a 3/10 improvement for Janel. Let me just go back a little bit. Actually, no, he has just completed a lap. So Janel with a 3/10 improvement up into P7 with a 15.9. Pogarel into the pits, and of course Pogarel getting a full-time seat now.
Yes. Just seeing... Sorry.
You good?
Just had something in my throat there, but yeah. It's interesting to see these guys, of course, the top... Well, 4 out of the top 5 are people that you kind of expect to be there, but there's just that outlier of Chris being there. And I'm just on board with Aguado. He has got a Williams livery. I believe that was the... I can't remember what anniversary it was, but it's an anniversary livery with the GB flag on the engine cover. Very nice. So he's still technically in a Williams, which is great for us.
Yes, we do love to see that. Obviously, Al Pacino is further along on his lap as we come from the middle sector. He's 2.5 seconds off his previous best. We'll go back on board with Aguado. Obviously, over a 10th up in the first sector. And Aguado needs a big performance here, because that last week, of course, he did manage to pick himself up a race ban. Of course, that was the reason why he wasn't here last week, and that has cost him the championship lead, along with a couple of poor performances from Suzuka, Imola, and of course, it's called Belgium, and that has compiled into him losing the championship lead, because in the last 4 races he hasn't been able to pick up a single point. He needs a big performance here, and that's what he needs to do. A 15.5, put himself on the provisional pole.
Yeah, even with the rear end stepping out through the hairpin, he still managed to gain 2 tenths. So if he had taken that cleanly, who knows what the gap would have been back to Alex and Daniel.
Yeah, and if you guys did see at the bottom of the screen, Aiden did rejoin the session, which is good for him, because he's got just enough time to get one final run in his car. So he can improve on 15th right now. Obviously, his nearest championship rival is Tactician, who's only 2 spots ahead of him in 13th. For Tactician is on a lap right now as he comes through turn 2 and 3, and the second DRS zone, which will run down in towards turn number 4, and we're going to see what the first sector split is saying for Tactician as he crosses the split, and he's over a tenth of a second up on his time in sector 1. Needs bigger improvements so if he wants to climb up the order, as he needs to find at least 2 attempts to get himself ahead of Borrell, never mind into the top 10.
Yeah, definitely does. We're just going to see how he goes through the S section here. Did have a little bit of a lift, but it looks clean enough through there. It is near enough 2.5 attempts. So he will jump himself above Burrell and start getting close to Al Pacino. He does have a ghosted car. Ooh. He has the ghosted car ahead of him, which may have been a little bit of a distraction.
Oh,
but only 30. He didn't. Yeah, he lost a 10th there. I believe Yano maybe. No, it's Burrell. It's going to be the next person to settle out. So do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, Burrell coming through turn 3. DRS wide open now on the rundown in towards turn 4. Of course, we just saw Tactician improve and almost get himself ahead of Burrell, but Burrell now over a tenth and a half up in sector 1. Needs to find more time, however. Of course, a 16.1 is the time to get yourself into the top 10. Anything into the 15s, and you should be okay for a top 10 result here, but as it currently stands, Burrell not into the 15s, but he's half a second up in the middle sector. This is exactly what he needs. This could put him ahead of Yanel here, coming through the final sector. As we go through the stadium section, Aguado retires from the session. He feels he's done enough. Through the final corner now comes Burrell to the line, and he'll jump up into P6. A big lap there for Burrell.
Yeah,
and Yanel up
very
into
good.
P2.
Oh, that was very close. Very close to Aguado, that. Don't know who the next person...
Compara.
Yeah, it's going to be Compura just going around the hairpin. Cutting a little bit of that curb. Of course, you don't want to take too much of that or it will spit your car out. And Compura has a little bit of a rear end step out. I don't think it'll be an improvement. It is an improvement, but not enough to move him up. Then we have Aldo. I think that's coming to the line. He has invalidated. Would have been enough to move him up a place. Pockeral puts himself in to the second spot provisionally, then taken by Daniel.
Alex
then
Marciano.
I believe
Alex to the line, and he's going to jump up on the provisional pole. As we got King now to the line. King 2.5 attempts up in the middle sector. What can King do? The championship leader coming to the line now. He puts himself up into P4. Yanel is on a flying lap, and I believe we got Aiden, who did manage to improve and get himself up into P13. Al Pacino down to 14th, Tactician down to 15th, Compara down to 16th, and I believe Borrell on a cool-down lap will just come into the pits and retire from the session.
Yanel's on a in-lap as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens now with Alex getting his 5th-place grid drop. If there'll be a lobby restart or not. Because at the moment, Aguado will be on pole and Alex will be starting 6th.
Yeah, we shall wait and see as we stay alert. But as it currently stands, Alex Marciano does take pole position. But will that stand? We'll have to find out. Aguado in P2 with Daniel in P3, King in P4, Pogorel in P5. Yep. Confirmation now it is going to be a restart. Yanel in P6 with Chris in 7th, Burrell in 8th, Soapbox in 9th, and Aldo rounding out the top 10. Miguel in 11th, Lifeboat in 12th, Aiden in 13th, Al Pacino in 14th, Tactician 15th, and Compura rounding out the final position in 16th place. And what I'm going to quickly do is I am going to quickly get a screenshot of the grid so I can send it over. And yeah, right, so let's go ahead and let's get this screenshot. Boosh. Confirmation, it will be a new lobby as well. Just going to send Life out the screenshots a sec of qualifying results so he can quickly do it himself. And then we'll be all sorted to go into the race ASAP. Right, so I believe we will be quitting the main menu. So I would suggest you quit the main menu, otherwise your game could end up.
Yeah, I've already done that.
Yeah, great, great stuff. I've had it a few times where I have done something, and then all of a sudden, then when you go to the main menu, it decides to completely freeze, and you have to close down the stream and then have to restart it over again. But yeah, qualifying. Alex Marciano does take pole position at the end there ahead of Aguado, and obviously Daniel separating both Aguado and King. But this is where I'm going to ask you now. If you're King, are you happy about your qualifying position? Because realistically, it's such a long run down into turn one. The likelihood that you are not going to be able to overtake both Aguado and Alex on the run into turn one is going to be very minimal due to the slipstream effect
Yeah.
and just how long of a run it is down in towards turn one.
Yeah, I think with these tracks that have such a long run into turn one, the best place to actually start is third. Well, third or fourth, I'd say, are the best places to start, just because you got two cars immediately ahead of you that can give you a massive slipstream, so the people in third and fourth can easily find themselves first and second going into the first corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Chris with a fantastic qualifying position managed to get himself into seventh in the end. Borrell up into eighth as well. And like I said it before, obviously, some tracks now where certain drivers are just going to be on it. Is this one of those tracks where we're going to see like a few surprises? Because I'm a little surprised to see not only Chris but also Burrell being so high up.
I think now that it's getting to crunch time in the season, we're into the last three races, it's going to be... People are really going to start pushing and trying to get the best results they can to try and get the best. It's definitely a preference, and like it's very much a track of, well, it's very much a track that you either like or you dislike. It's very much one of those tracks that people are either really good or they're just not good at all. So yeah, it's interesting to see the likes of Chris and Barrow up there, and I'm hoping for, well, for their sake, that they have a good result.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, while we are in this transitional period, obviously, what we like to do is, of course, shout out to our sponsors at GT Omega. If you do go onto the GT Omega site and at the checkout, use code PSGL, and I believe it's a cheeky little discount there to be used. And of course, we do love a discount, as we just got confirmation that we are getting ready to go racing once again. We'll go straight into the race, so no messing around with another qualifying session. We'll be straight in to 36 laps of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez as we take in round number 10 at the Mexican Grand Prix.
What we also like to do in these little intermission periods is just say how bad EA are.
Yes. Of course, it's not great when the latest update and completely ruins the equal car performances for the F1 cars, which is unfortunate, but it does throw a huge spanner in the works in terms of obviously the competitive scene on F1, and it causes more issues than it actually fixes realistically.
Yeah, but it just seems with every update they try to fix something, then it breaks something else.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll see. Now we're going to get to see what the conditions are like in the race. Of course, it is clear right now. The question is, though, will we see any rain at all?
Yeah, it's one of those places where when it rains, it absolutely pours it down. So could be a case of starting off dry and then ended up on the wet tyres, or potentially just being dry all the way through. We're not sure. This is the beauty of dynamic weather in league racing. And of course, something I thought I mentioned with the lobby reset, people's teammates in the garages would have reset as well.
Yep, as we got those 5 red lights. Lights are out and we are underway here. Daniel gets a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, and there's Aguado and Alex does as well. My God, is absolutely gone to pot here as Pokerel gets a move done on King. Early on, here comes Yanel. Having a look down the inside, is he going to potentially go for a move? No, he's not. As you got Chris hanging it around the outside of Burrell and Yanel actually. As Yanel able to hold off Chris Burrell down to P10. And it is all kicking off here in the midfield as Miguel and Soapbox side by side coming through turn 4 and turn 5. Miguel holding the inside line as we approach turn 6. And this should be job done for him, but like a lifeboat in the mix as well. He's on the back looking at Burrell, looking at Soapbox, and now they have to go through line astern into the S's. No margin for error in these corners as Burrell gets a little bit out of shape, and because of that, it does mean that Lifeboat has
Pokerau and King fighting in the background of this battle for the lead. Pokerau gets out, staying ahead of King, but King is looking really racy. Go down the inside, very nearly contact between the two. But King has the inside line. Pokerau's going to have a better run, you'd imagine. He's just sticking behind, getting the slipstream. Absolutely sending it down the inside. Pokerau regains his first spot, but that's King going for the switchback and he gets it done. So great move there from King. Pokerau having all sorts of moments, and that allows Yanel to get through, and maybe even Chris.
Here comes Chris on the outside of Pokerel as he is around the outside. He's going to be able to pull this off. He'll have the inside for turn 5, and job done for Chris. Chris up in the P3 now, and look at that, Miguel down the inside.
Soapbox must be licking his lips looking at this, seeing Pokerel drop down so many positions. In this lap alone, he's dropped from 1st down to 4th.
Yeah, absolutely, as things are beginning to settle down now. Miguel and Chris, big gainers at the start, jumping up a fair few positions. As look at this, Soapbox trying to hang it around the outside of Miguel through the hairpin in the stadium section, and of course Miguel able to hold off there. King setting a new fastest lap. Of course, one thing I did forget to bring up, I forgot to bring up the tyre compounds. Everyone is on a set of hards apart from Al Pacino, who is on a set of medium. So interesting there. Aiden looking to get the move done on Borrell. Up into P7 goes Aiden as he is going to try and hold it around the outside. Borrell, and yeah, unable to do so, has to stick in behind Aiden here for P8, and he needs to be careful because Al Pacino is right there on the softer compound in behind.
Yeah, Al Pacino is certainly looking very racy on the back of Burrell.
Al Pacino gets a little tap at the rear from Lifeboat and almost loses the car. He's almost out of DRS range. Of course, he will have the grip to come back through in this middle sector, so we'll see if if he is able to do it. King has managed to break the 1 second window from Janel, and now Chris is looking on to try and get the move done on Janel, but he backs out of it. And with this now, Chris could potentially be looking at getting himself into P2. Of course, he'll have a double bite of the cherry with DRS as he runs down in towards turn number 1, and then of course down in towards turn 4. So he should be on course to try and get himself up into P2 here.
Yeah, definitely, but it's not going to quite get it as Janel's already extremely low on his ERS. He's already on about 10%. Chris is on about 40. So Janel's already at a big disadvantage in that sense. Chris doesn't even need to use his ERS. He won't get past, but definitely applying the pressure.
Lifeboat outbreaking. Borel trying to hang it around the outside of turn 4 into turn 5. And is it going to be job done for Lifeboat? Yes, it is. Job done up in the P9 for Lifeboat here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with, well, the 3 people who were leading this race, all down in 13th, 14th and 15th. They're all sticking together. And Alex is just leading them back to, well, the back of Aldo. It was, after the first lap, about 9.5 seconds. Now it's down to 6 seconds. So he's really pushing on, trying to get onto the back of the main pack again.
Yeah, and of course it's a fantastic job from Alex Aguado and Daniel to be able to come back to such an extent that they have so far. Obviously having to serve a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, and they've definitely managed to make their way back through tidy as Miguel looking for a move on Pokerell as Chris is looking to get the job done on Janel. Down the inside goes the pair of them. Chris gets through. Miguel unfortunately unable to get through, tries to look for a alternative line through 2, little bit of contact, and now through 3. This is going to be crucial for Miguel if he wants to get through and maybe start to put the pressure on Janel, and unable to do so. He has to stick in behind now.
It's very much just DRS trains here, of course. Well, Miguel there just had a little bit of a slide at the rear end, which allowed Sobots to get quite close. But yeah, like I was saying, it's all about the trains at the moment. We've got a train from P2 ET8 Chris back to Soapbox. Then we have another train from Aiden all the way down to Aldo. So we've got 2 main DRS trains here. It's very close to becoming one big train, but it doesn't seem to be. Well, yeah, the progress from Aguado, Alex and Daniel seems to have halted a little bit. They only gained about half a second on the last lap. Just hovering around 5.5 seconds
Aiden.
now.
Job done there for Al Pacino. Up into P7 goes the reserve driver. Up into 7th he goes, and ahead of Aiden.
Yeah, he will have the second DRS, or the second helping of DRS there, because of course... Oh, there's Lifeboat looking for a move, hanging it round the outside. We've seen this move loads of times already. Gets it done, and now he finds himself in P8. Aiden looking very vulnerable here for an overtake, because Tactician is practically pushing him through into the entry of the S's.
Yeah, and of course the more these guys fight towards the top, the quicker Aguado, Alex and Daniel are going to close up to him. Of course the gap is 5.8 seconds now as Aguado through the middle sector. He's brought that down to 5.7. So he is gaining time. As look at this, Borel around the outside, a Tactician going to look for a tighter line as Aldo there was trying to sneak down the inside of Borel, trying to get P11, but unfortunately wasn't able to do so. And Borel loses the car on the exit of turn 17, and he is around VSC out on lap 6. And will we see it transition to a full course safety car? Hopefully not, but
I think it may just be a virtual safety car here. But yeah, what may be the saving grace for these guys in the secondary DRS pack the DRS train is the fact that they all have DRS. And that is stopping, well, mainly stopping the progress of Aguado. Well, Aguado, Alex and Daniel, that's what is stopping the progress of those three. Just the people ahead having DRS, constantly just having that little extra helping is, well, keeping those three at bay for now.
Yeah, of course, if they are going to try and close up the gap, they need to do so in the corners and obviously not fight too much with each other. Just kind of DRS slipstream and overtake each other, not really not really pushing each other, trying to get track position on each other, just going for smart moves to not lose time, because the bigger picture is to catch up to the rest of the pack.
Yeah, definitely is for those three. And we are back under green flags here, DRS enabled, and it looks like Yano has had a good restart here, but Pocoral is dropping back, and that Soapbox in the pits. He's going to be going for, I believe, mediums, so potentially a two-stop here for Soapbox. Maybe he's preempting a safety car here. We've already had a virtual, and that's Alex getting past Aguado, and yeah, progress back on for these guys. Only 5.3 is, or 5.2 is the gap back to Aldo.
Just sorry to cut in there. Pocoral was just outbreaking himself slightly, almost went into the back of Yano as Miguel was looking to try and get the move done on Pocoral. Pocoral almost colliding in the back of Yano there into turn 4, which of course would have been horrendous for the pair of them. Front wing damage for Pocoral and would have been tagged around there for Yano.
It's not been a good virtual safety car restart for Al Pacino, because he was right on the edge of the DRS, but the fighting from the guys ahead has brought him back into it, and it's Aiden as well, who is outside the DRS range, just slightly of lifeboat. 1.2, nearly 1.3 seconds is the gap. And look at the gap between Alex and Aldo, dropped again. 4.6 is the gap now. As that's Tactician looking to get a move on Aiden, and he gets it done. And yeah, Tactician's going to have, once again, massive lock up there from Aiden. And that's Aguado getting past Alex once again. And yeah, the gap is just extending, then it's falling, extending, falling. That's the nature of this DRS.
As Aldo sends one down the inside of Aiden, and Aldo now up into P9. Aiden appears to be struggling here on lap 9. I wonder if there's any front wing damage.
Or it might be a setup. He might have forgotten to put his setup on with the lobby restart, which if he has, it's so unfortunate.
Yeah, you could be right about that. Unfortunately, we did forget to tell everyone to remember their setups. As Pocoral and Miguel side by side. Miguel off.
Dive! Contact!
Pocoral there going off track as he was side by side with Yano. Look at Miguel sending one down the inside. Job done from Miguel. Opportunistic move, and he gets that position. Finally, he's been looking for it for so long. And Al Pacino now right on the back of this as well. And on those mediums, of course, they are going to begin to fade away pretty soon. He is still closing in on these guys, but now has an opportunity to try and get past Pocoral. Pocoral, big commitment to try and get the move done on Yano, and it ended up costing him a spot to Miguel.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of action, and we're not even a third of the way through the race yet. Yeah, the gaps are certainly getting close. As Lifeboat looked, he tried to shape up a little bit of a dive bomb into the double right-hander, but he couldn't quite get it done. So he's just sticking behind Al Pacino right now. The Tactician is getting right on the edge of DRS, but he's not quite there. He is on the button. He was using his ERS. He's just not quite there.
Al Pacino goes deep, and there goes Lifeboat around the outside. Albertino will try and hold it down the inside, but unable to hold it. And Lifeboat now up into P6. Good move there from Lifeboat.
Yeah, very good move there. And what that battling has done is allowed Tactician to bring along Aiden and Aldo back into this train. And look at this. Alex he was right on the edge of DRS. Very close to not being in DRS range of Aguado, but Aguado, yeah, just on that straight alone, from not having DRS, he lost about 8 tenths to the back of Aiden.
Yeah, and that's the issue that Aguado and Co will have there down towards the back. I mean, they can DRS overtake each other and just slipstream each other, try and drag themselves up along, but whoever's at the lead of their three-man train will of course lose out a fair few tenths down that main straight, and of course the run in towards turn 4 as well, because they will have a second bit of disadvantage without the DRS there, as we have a DRS train down to P10 from Miguel in P3.
Yeah, look at the gap now. 3.2 is gained. 6-7 tenths just through the rest of the lap by itself.
Daniel.
And Daniel's got 3-second time penalty, making his race go from bad
Lifeboat,
to worse.
Lifeboat and Pokerel coming out of the final corner. Lifeboat drawn alongside Pokerel, and I can't lie, Lifeboat has so much more ERS compared to Pokerel. If he wanted to use a little bit just to get this move done, he could, as Janel gets back through on Miguel. Up into P3 goes Janel. Chris has managed to break away slightly from this pack, and of course he's fallen away now from King, who is in the lead of this race. And of course King, the championship leader, looking to extend his gap at the top of the championship. His nearest rivals, Agrado, all the way down in P11, Aiden down in P10, and of course we got Tactician in P8. So it is a huge margin that King is actually gaining on these guys right now in terms of championship points.
Yeah, definitely is, but the way that these three are going, it wouldn't be surprising if they caught up to the pack before the first round of pit stops, because yeah, it's definitely putting on the pressure now. 2.5 seconds nearly is the gap. Of course the DRS zone here is going to extend it a little bit, but through the corners, these three are just looking so much quicker than the rest of this main pack. Well, definitely faster than Aiden in this. It's nearly on the 2-second mark at the moment, and yeah, all three of them have got a decent amount of VRS left, especially Aguado is sitting around 80% at the moment.
Well, I'll tell you what, and this is going to be interesting. If I'm Aguado, Alex and Daniel, I'm thinking about going for an undercut on the pack up ahead, because realistically, in terms of how far they are behind King, I mean, we'll just look now, right? So 10.4 is the gap between Aguado and King out in the lead. Obviously, a good undercut, and if you go a lap or two early, could gain you a few seconds, could jump you ahead of most of these guys in the mid pack, and then you can try and push and try and get up the order, because the pace they're showing so far, just trying to catch back up, is absolutely incredible. And I think if they on the final stint are a little bit closer, you know, maybe around Lifeboat, Pokerel area when the pit stops are done, they definitely could have the pace to catch King by the end of this race.
Yeah, these three, well, Aguado, Alex and Daniel are three of the fastest people on track. And look at this. Look at the gap, 1.5 seconds.
Going for a free double overtake here, free wide end down in towards turn 1. Miguel trying to have a little look down the inside. Job not done there for Miguel. And Pokerel up into P3. Double overtake for Pokerel. Job done for him. And you got Lifeboat sitting in behind, and he is using a little bit of VRS, but is he going to go for it? Lifeboat down the inside of Janel, very close to contact, a little bit of contact there on the exit of turn 4, and that is going to allow Janel just to stay ahead of Lifeboat. Lifeboat has so much more ERS to use compared to these guys ahead of him. If he just uses a little bit, he'll get past all of them.
Yeah, just look at the gap now from Aguado to Aiden. 1.5 seconds. He won't get into DRS range for this next zone, and that's virtual safety car there. Not sure who that's for.
I think Borel at the moment. Oh no, sorry, Daniel at the moment. Look how far back Daniel's dropped off.
Oh yeah.
There's no front wing.
He doesn't have a front wing.
And Chris picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think he also picked up a 5-second as well coming into the pits, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone coming into the pits. King has stayed out. DRS is now enabled once again. Alex has come into the pits. Aguado stays out. And now you can see the gap between Aguado and King. And it's 13.8 seconds. And we're going to see if that is going to be enough for Aguado to try and close in. Obviously, lap 15 of 36. King leads the way and has quite a commanding lead. But with the likes of Pogarel, Miguel, Yanel, and everyone making a pit stop, what has happened to Chris? I've just noticed Chris is all the way down in 11th now. He's been jumped by everyone in the pit lane.
Yeah, I think everyone coming into the pits I think he was held up for such a long time. He must have been. He must have been held up for quite a long time, but it should be unsafe pit release on, so I'm not too sure. Yeah, it's very interesting to see how far back he's dropped. But someone who I think is in a great position to get to the end here is actually Al Pacino. He started on the medium. Oh, never mind, 3-second time penalty. But yeah, he started on the mediums. He's on the hards. He could very easily take these hards to the end of the race, whereas everyone else, they might have to pit again who are on the mediums. Aguado into the pits. King stays out for another lap. But yeah, Aguado onto the mediums he goes. If he can take these mediums 20 laps, be very good, but he's going to be dropping so far back he might even be further back. Well, he's actually going to come out ahead of Alex, and
yeah,
quite substantially. Well, it will have the run out of the final corner, will Alex, but it's still going to be around 2 seconds. Just pitting 1 lap later, you'd think Alex would have an advantage coming into the pits under the virtual safety car, but the advantage is with Aguado.
Yeah, Aguado, I think, obviously, the virtual safety car just ended as Aguado crossed the line, so there wasn't a huge amount gained in the pit lane for these guys that did come into the pits. So, I mean, we are seeing Aguado now about 2 seconds off the back of Borel about 2 seconds off the back of Aiden, and then of course Aiden about a second off the back of this train that goes up to Yanel for P4. King yet to make a pit stop, but you can see the gap, 18.3 seconds, and of course we are going to see Soapbox also be making a pit at some point in this race as well to make a second pit stop. Yanel with a new fastest lap, Tactician with a new fastest lap now, as these guys are beginning to crank up the pace around here at Mexico, and Alex Marciano with a brand new fastest lap, as well as it looks like Aguado is going to make this move on Borel up into P12. Goes Aguado, and now he can go chasing after Aiden.
Yeah, it's crucial for Aguado to start getting the moves done. We're getting close to the second half of the race, and this is where he needs to start making his way through the pack. And going up the field, closest battle is actually Chris on the back of Al Pacino. He's hovering around the 3.5 4/10 mark. Well, right now he's about 5.5 tenths back from Al Pacino. And yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Chris. Really not sure how he managed to drop so far back. But looking up the pack to Lifebound now, 3.5 tenths is the gap from him to Miguel, and Miguel's surely going to be lining up an overtake on the pit straight on Yanel to get P4, although the gap is a little large. Daniel picks up another 3-second time penalty. It's not looking great for him so far, and that's Guado with the fastest lap now.
Yep, Aguado setting a brand new fastest lap in 18.1, just showing his pace as Aldo gets through on Tactician in behind this battle as Lifeboat was looking at Miguel and Yano getting very close to each other, and here comes Lifeboat on his ERS, going to move to the inside of Miguel. Is this going to be job done down the inside? Again, so close, but
quite.
Switch back perhaps for Lifeboat. Lifeboat just can't seem to get that move done in turn 4, can he?
Yeah, it's just, if you have the inside, well, if you have the outside line for turn 4, that becomes the inside for turn 5, and you basically got the overtake done at that point once you have the outside for turn 4, as King decides now is the time to pit. And he's undoubtedly going to go on to a set of mediums, which he does. I'm going to go on board with Soapbox to see where in relation to King he comes out. Although Soapbox, you'd imagine, will have to stop once again. It looks like King is going to get overtaken by Pocoral's Soapbox. And he just comes out ahead of
comes Miguel on
Yano.
But the thing is, Miguel will have a double bite of DRS, and he'll be close enough to the back of King that he could put King under pressure here into turn 4.
He definitely could, and something that didn't quite mention before, just seen come up on the screen, that Alex picked up a 3-second time penalty, with himself being about 2.5 seconds back from Aguado. It's not looking good for 2 out of the 3 highest starters here.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, Alex and Aguado, that drive-through penalty at the start of this race has really hindered their race absolutely massively, as Aguado is trying to close up to the back of Aiden. Aiden is within DRS of Al Pacino once again, so I mean, Aiden will get towed along down the straight, and if he is using a default setup, that is big for him to get towed along here. But now we essentially almost have a train going from P1 all the way down to P10 now, as Soapbox comes into the pits, and we're going to see.
He's got the DRS. Yeah, Guado managed to pick up DRS on Aiden, which is huge, but he's just not. I'm not sure. Not sure what's happening. He had the DRS, but he was losing so much time. He lost about 3 or 4 attempts, even with DRS on the main straight. Of course, he does have the second helping of it. And yeah, he's just losing time. Maybe it's a setup issue for Aguado, but yeah, he was just losing so much time to the back of Aiden, even with DRS.
Miguel gets through on Yano for P3 in this race. King closing up to the back of Pocorel for the race lead. And of course, we got Lifeboat still looking for an opportunity to get through on these guys in front of him. Aldo with a good performance so far. He's up into P6, and Tactician, as consistently as always, he just finds a way up the grid order, doesn't he? He just does it all the time.
Yeah, it's very good to see someone like a Tactician always managing to just avoid the chaos. But looking at King, he's getting very close to the back of Pocorel, and he gets past with ease. He was on the button there, so it made it look even easier than it was.
Lifeboat's done the double overtake. He's finally done it. He's finally used his battery, and he's managed to get through as Miguel and Yanel side by side through 2 and 3. Yanel squeezing out Miguel, and that's going to allow Aldo to come through. Aldo now on the battery uses DRS and gets through on Miguel. Miguel
even
goes
Tactician might have a look. Oh no, he doesn't. He's too far back. But yeah, Miguel, that was a horror show from him, losing 3 positions. It's not great for him, but that can easily happen to Lifeboat in this situation, although the gap says otherwise. It is 9 tenths the gap between Yano and Lifeboat. he is pushing on, trying to catch the two leaders. And talking about the leaders, Baccarao is outside of the DRS range of King. So King, once again, showing his pace and pulling away from the pack.
Yeah, King right now, obviously, he's going to be absolutely loving life. Most of the people that we would assume would be the biggest competition for King, all of them getting drive-through penalties at the start of this race and having to make their way back through. Aguado is now currently up into P9. He's not too far off the back of Chris for P8 as Aldo gets through, and Yano for P4. Of course, Yano losing out on DRS on Lifeboat, of course, making him vulnerable to that move from Aldo. Obviously, Alex is currently down in P12 and Daniel in P13, so it's been a horror race for those two in particular, but Aguado is trying to salvage something out of this race.
Yeah, it's gonna be, well, with King leading, is very much minimise the points difference between the two as much as you can, and that is Daniel round, I think. Well, there was the other flags, I'm not sure who it was for. Daniel, yeah, he's lost the front left end plate of his front wing, so he's going to be in the box once again as Chris gets a move done on Tactician. Chris moves himself up into P7. Yeah, Guado, like you're saying, has caught up to this train, but being right at the back of a DRS train is not the position that you want to be in. And looking at the people around him, he's actually got a DRS advantage on everyone apart from Lifeboat, who's right at the beginning of this train, and that's Tactician getting past.
Inside. Oh,
but
he's
Chris
unable to make a stick.
Looking for a better exit, but it doesn't look like it's coming, and Aguado right on his gearbox, but it just doesn't seem like he's close enough to get a move here into turn 4.
Oh, Daniel's out.
Daniel.
Oh, he's in the pit lane.
That's in the pit lane. Unfortunate for Daniel, having such a good starting position and then having to, well, getting that drive-through sort of set the tone for his race from the off. And yeah, Aguado's looking very, very racy here on the back of Tactician.
He's just got so much more grip. He's got so much more confidence than Tactician right here. And he potentially could have a look around the outside into the final sector, into the stadium now. Switch back here from Aguado as he's going to travel around the outside at the hairpin. Aguado now up into P8. And was that a mistake? Because he's not going to have DRS now on Chris.
Yeah, it's not looking good, but just gonna... Yeah, Tactician has the DRS. So Tactician's going to have to move. He's on the button, he's on the ERS, and he makes it look easy on a championship contender as Al Pacino gets a move done on Aiden as well.
Yeah, and of course, for Aguado, I mean, he has so much more pace than some of these guys up ahead of him. He just needs to be smart when he's going for the overtake. I mean, that move right there, unfortunately, it just wasn't the right move to make at that moment in time. It was better to kind of sit in behind, try and overtake with DRS. Maybe force Tactician to lose DRS, which, of course, Tactician has now lost. And now Aguado needs to make this move, preferably down in towards turn 1. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to try and go for it now into the final sector, into turn 12 here.
Yeah, I think if you're Aguado, well, looks like he's just going to learn from his mistake before. He's going to just stick behind Tactician, and he's going to get the move done on the main straight and then bridge the gap that is to Chris. Of course, 11 laps left of this race. He's definitely got the time to move himself up even further, but he's just got to get onto the back of this pack. There's now Chris, and he goes for the outside line as opposed to overtaking on the right. Gives the inside to Tactician, but doesn't really matter. He's got the move done, and now his mission is to get onto the back of Chris, and that's a penalty.
Aguado there was doing so well on penalties, and he is now gonna be fighting to try and save as much points as possible. Now he has to make these overtakes stick because he needs to not only get ahead of this train, he needs to pull 3 seconds now.
Yeah, at the moment he's actually gonna be only dropping behind Tactician, so it will only be down to P9 as it stands. But he is closing to the back of Chris slightly, and he is extending the gap back to Tactician, so he won't have a helping of DRS on this time around, but come this time next lap I'm sure he will most likely have a helping of DRS.
Yeah, as now we'll see Aguado begin to fall away from this train. This train goes up to P2 in this race. And of course, if you're Aguado, you want to get to the head of this train as soon as possible. And obviously he does have 1 lap fresher tyres than the rest of these guys up ahead of him. The only one with fresher tyres ahead of him is King, the race leader, who's pretty much had it his own way throughout the entirety of the race. After the drive-through penalties at the start from Aguado, Alex and Daniel. Of course, Daniel now out of this race. Alex, it hasn't been a good race for him so far since that drive-through. He came in and pitted under the virtual safety car, which ended just as he was coming into the pit, so he didn't really get much benefit from it. And since then, he's kind of been in a bit of a spot where he just hasn't been able to move up the grid as effectively as Aguado has. But Aguado needs to get within this 1 second window. He has used all his battery to try and close up. And now, oh, he's just about in it, surely. Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, now it's game time for him. He is on the back of a DRS train, but saw that before with Tactician and Aiden. He got past them and dispatched them quite easily, I'd have to say.
Aldo
but
on Lifeboat. Having a look on the inside. Job not done there for Aldo. Ooh,
he does.
Lifeboat runs deep.
Oh.
And that's going to allow Aldo to come back through. As now Lifeboat's going to be under a bit of pressure from Yanel in behind. And if Yanel can send one down the inside, perhaps we might see another position lost there for Lifeboat. But no, Yanel's going to be smart about it, not force the move there. Aguado momentarily dropped out of DRS range on these guys ahead of him, but he's managed to get back in it because obviously these guys battling, it's going to bunch up the pack once again.
Yeah, definitely is going to bunch up the pack, but seeing such a deficit in the straight line, it makes me think Aguado's got more downforce on his setup. You can see how much time he gained through the S's, just having what seemed to be so much more grip. And yeah, oh! Aguado going for the audacious dive bomb, tags the back of Chris. And yeah, it was a very audacious dive from Aguado, but luckily for Chris, he was in range to get DRS, so it wasn't all bad for Chris. Just checking the car of Aguado, doesn't seem like he's got any damage, so he came out of that unscathed as it was.
Yeah, Miguel was getting close to the back of Yanel, but deciding to not go for the move into turn 1, electing to stick behind it. The man who is currently in P5 for the time being. Miguel looks like a guy that has a car more suited to the straight line. So Miguel, I think, is probably thinking right now, okay, I'm just going to save up a bit of battery, and then towards the end of this race I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, it could definitely be his thinking here, as Campura is on the soft tyres, has just set a new fastest lap here. And Aguado is going to be looking for the outside line, maybe a little bit of a switchback, but Chris has the apex all covered. He parks it on the apex, not allowing Aguado to get through. And yeah, I think this is where Aguado struggles with his setup, because he is in a DRS train, but he's just not really making any inroads.
Right, well, we're going to have to see if anyone's going to be making any inroads soon as Al Pacino gets through on Aiden. And now, I think we're starting to see the hard tyres come into play.
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah, Al Pacino's got about 7 or 8 laps left. Well, he's got about 8 laps left of this race.
Aiden, and Aiden defends well there as Alex going to look down the inside into turn 6. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. And Alex going to try and use a bit of battery. He'll have the outside. And there, Aiden backs out there. That's smart there from Aiden. You don't want to be going side by side into the S's. Aguado, obviously seeing the flash of red light on the back of Chris's car is definitely going to be something that will bring a little bit of joy to the championship protagonist, as he will now be able to potentially get through on Chris now without using that much ERS himself.
Yeah, but look at actions Aguado, but being so far back, he's just not. Yeah, he just doesn't look like he's got straight line speed to get an overtake done on Chris, and it doesn't help that he's right at the back of this DRS train.
Well, I mean, Aguado does have a bit more battery to play with, so, I mean, maybe if he gets a good run out of turn 6, maybe try and draw alongside in towards the S's, or maybe like have a little launch into turn 12 perhaps. I'm trying to think of places where Aguado could make a move stick and where he's going to have the best runs possible, because obviously for the S's, he's much more confident than these guys up ahead. As you see, Chris there getting a little bit out of shape. That's a 3-second time penalty for Chris. And now, Aguado, is he going to look for a move down the inside? No, he backs out. But Chris again getting a little bit out of shape. And that is going to allow Aguado, and Chris goes off. And yeah, Chris losing out there and gets a 5-second time penalty for corner cutting. And that's going to bring Chris possibly outside of the points, as he's going to come into the pits now and change the tyres.
Yeah, it's second penalty. Oh no, never mind. He's tired from the session. Well, yeah, look at just. Oh, that's Aldo. Aldo with a 3-second time penalty. What was looking so promising to be a podium for Aldo is now dropping out. Yeah, he's gonna be dropping down to 6th. It's so unfortunate for him, and well, yeah, he's dropping down to 6th as it is.
Yeah, heartbreak for Aldo, picking up that penalty towards the end. Obviously, I mean, this is one of those tracks where time penalties will come thick and fast if you're really pushing like that. As Chris's car coming out of the pit lane, obviously down in towards turn 1. In terms of
big send into the hairpin. Miguel shoves him out of the way. He says, "No, this is my corner," and he sticks in P6, and that's Campura with a 3-second time penalty to add to his worries.
I'll tell you what, Aguado right now, I think he knows the situation that he's in. He has to make these moves. And there's only very few opportunities that he's going to have to make these moves where he'll have the advantage. Obviously, DRS, as you mentioned, he doesn't appear to have the car in a straight line to really go for the overtakes. He'd have to use all of his battery up. But in Sector 2, if he can get a good enough run through the S's, he can get a run in towards turn 12, which of course is probably what he's looking at. And of course, the hairpin at turn 13 is obviously a spot right now where we're seeing him attempt a lot of these lunges down the inside. None of them have worked out too well for Aguado so far, but maybe this time around, as look how much pace he's got in the S's compared to Miguel. A little bit of a tap on the rear, and he's going to use a bit of battery. He's going to get through on Miguel. Up into P6 now goes Aguado, and now this is what he needs to get through on these guys. pick them off one at a time.
Yeah, but the one thing with Aguado, having that 3-second time penalty, he might make all of these moves get up to P3. But because of that penalty, he might drop all the way back down to P7. Well, yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong there. Of course, Aldo, the only person in this train for P2 with a 3-second as well. Aguado, though, he appears to have more pace. That's the thing that Aguado has. He does have more pace. He just needs to get through on these guys, and then he can try and pull away. But he's running out of laps to do it.
Yeah, he's got to do it well. About 2 laps ago would have been the best time for him to get past everyone. But yeah, just seeing everyone ahead of him, they're just constantly having little wiggles on traction, which is encouraging for Aguado, but he's just, through these sorts of sections, he's got the pace on everyone, but not the opportunities to get past. As look, he's just constantly like tapping the rears, getting little bits of contact here and there, and it's just not doing him any good.
I see, turn 13, he sends it again, down the inside of Yano this time. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? No, he can't. So again, the lunge down the inside into the hairpin, not working out for Aguado.
Yeah, and Yano is sensing that Aguado's just got the overall pace on him through
Lifeboat
the aero-dependent zones.
Lifeboat.
Aguado!
As Aguado in the background also going for a move as well, and Yano. Lifeboat and Aguado both unable to make that move stick, and now Aguado, as he's had to use his battery, but in this middle sector he has the pace, and I think now he's getting a bit too desperate with a couple of these lunges now, I think.
Yeah, definitely is, and I just saw in the background that Alex has got past Tactician, so now finding himself in P8. It's a very good recovery drive from Alex here. Aguado didn't have as good as a run through the S's as he did before, so he's not quite close enough. Will he be looking for a dive? No, he won't. The thing with Aguado, he's got to try and get round the outside of the hairpin. Just try and stick it round the outside and get a move done that way, as Miguel behind Aguado gets 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, so right now Aguado looking like he's on course for P6 as it currently stands. Miguel dropping away by a second. Yeah. Aguado not close enough as Pokerel down the inside of Aldo.
Very opportunistic.
Oh, contact between the pair of them.
Oh no.
Constantino effect.
Oh no. Al Pacino, a 3-second time penalty down in P10. That would be detrimental for him at his fight for points here.
Pokerel and Aldo coming together there, not what anyone would have wanted, but obviously Pokerel now drops all the way down to P7. I don't know if he's going to have the pace to get back within Miguel and Aguado's time penalties, but are we going to see Aguado getting himself any higher up this field? Remember, he is P5 right now. He will stay P5. As he sends one down the inside. Yano.
He's going to
go around the outside now.
This is what he needs. He needs to have the outside, to have the inside line.
Oh, no.
But not far enough alongside. On to the last lap we go, and Aguado seemingly fighting for, well, staying in P5.
Here comes Lifeboat. Simple, easy as you like. Lifeboat through up into P2. Yano right now with no penalty to his name will take that final podium position.
Once again.
Yeah, here we go. This is desperation setting in now for Aguado. He knows he's about to lose out. Oh, and Yano with a big snap there on the exit, and they need to be careful because Miguel's in the mix as well. It's going to be free wide. Contact between the three of them as they go through turn 4, turn 5 now. Aguado down the inside as Yano goes off track. Needs to rejoin. Yano with a free second
penalty.
as well. Oh my God, there's more contact between Yano and Miguel. My God, I think that's going to be a talking point after this race. That is for sure.
Yeah, it definitely was. To go too wide through that section doesn't usually work, but 3 wide, yeah, it's just a completely different story. As Miguel goes down the inside of Yano, and he's more
King
alongside, but Yano, yeah, King. Great performance there from King. Lifeboat comes across to finish second. Aldo in third, gets third, and Aguado gets fourth out of all of that.
Oh my God! I just saw. I believe that was that tactician and Alex there, like literally Tokyo drifting for the final corner.
Spinning across the line together.
Incredible. Waiting on the final 2 drivers now to come to the line of Boro and Campara.
Campara's spun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that race is going to bring up some talking points, that is for sure. And I think there will be some steward inquiries for that as well. I mean, Aguado does cross the line in P4 and does keep it. Yano, though, will feel a little bit aggrieved to get that time penalty at the end, and maybe he might put in a protest for it. We'll have to wait and see. If that does happen, Aguado will drop to P5. But of course, some of the lunges from Aguado, would they be looked into as well? That's like another question to answer. But honestly, King, absolutely fantastic drive from him. The championship leader, extending his lead at the top of the standings. Fantastic performance. Absolutely no issues for him whatsoever. Usually in the Alpine F1 car. Of course, tonight in multiplayer cars, he just mastered Mexico here tonight, especially with everyone that was a challenge to him picking themselves up a drive-through penalty at the start.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it just wasn't... Well, even with the penalties for those 3, Aguado definitely made the most of the bad situation he found himself in. And I believe... Well, it was just such an excellent... It was just an excellent comeback drive from him. And... yeah, to finish P4 after getting a drive-through on the first lap, it's very good comeback drive from Aguado.
It is a good comeback drive from Aguado, but I believe we'll have to wait and see what happens after the race. But we'll run you for the order one more time. It is King taking victory here in Mexico and extending his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Lifeboat with a fantastic P2 to end here in Mexico. Aldo with, I believe, his first podium of the season. As just quickly, he's only finished in the points once, and that was a P9 last time out in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, Aldo with a podium. Fantastic result. Aguado in P4, Yano 5, Miguel in 6th, Raul in 7th, Tactician in 8th, Alex in 9th, Soapbox in 10th. Then, of course, we got Aiden in 11th, Al Pacino in 12th, Caparo with the fastest lap in 13th. And then, of course, our non-finishers were Borel, Daniel, and I believe Chris. There we go. Yeah, Chris, Borel, and Daniel, our non-finishers at the end. In fact, no, Borel actually did. He retired on the final lap. Borel, Chris, and Daniel, our non-finishers tonight. Campara did pick up the fastest lap as well. So that brings an end to round number 10 at Mexico. And my God, what a incredible incredible spectacle we was just witness to there.
Yeah, it was all about the midfield fight in this race. Normally, it's all about the four-car fight for the wins in these races, but all about the midfield fight, all about the podium fight, and yeah, it created some questionable moves, but overall some excellent racing from everyone.
Yeah, and obviously, in terms of driver of the day, I gotta give it to King. I mean, he just drove impeccably throughout that entire race. No incidents, no worries, no fuss. Just got the job done, picked up the win. 16 points in the bag for King, and extending his lead at the top of the championship.
Yeah, point for that, you gotta say, is very much after getting that drive through for Aguado, is very much damage limitation, and regardless of what happens at the end, well, in the stewards, gotta say, he did as much as he could with the situation he was handed. So you gotta give props to Aguado, but I'd have to say my driver of the day is Lifeboat. He started P12, I think. I think he started P12 and he ended up P2. Is an excellent drive from him, making the most of the situation he had in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, I can't argue with Lifeboat being a driver of the day nomination and a fantastic drive out there today. So yeah, I mean, both him and King definitely deserve shout-outs for their drives. But of course, that brings an end to the action here in PSGL F6 on the PlayStation tier. And of course, we will be back next week for round number 11. Not sure what track we'll be going to next, as it hasn't been announced yet. So keep an eye out on the Twitter for PSGL and keep alert for that. But yeah, one more time, massive shout out to our sponsors at GT Omega, and of course a massive congratulations to King for the win, and to Lifeboat and Aldo for joining him on the podium. But for now, guys, I have been Mike, he has been Quinn, and we'll catch you next week when we go racing again for round number 11. Until then, guys, good night.
See ya.